welcome to our spoilers review of The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaValle.
Now this was a cute little novella.
Cute.
Well, I read it and I hadn't read the short story that it was based off, so I read it and I was like, oh, this is good, I really like it. And then I went to go write a review of it and I was like, I don't know what to say. And then I read the story and I was like, oh. Oh.
I read this book a few years ago and absolutely loved it, and when we decided that we wanted to do kind of a cosmic horror month, I was like, this one! We have to do this one, Chelsey, it's short! And so I reread it, and then I also read The Horror of Red Hook, and that's like 25 minutes I want to like squeegee out of my brain. One, just the yikes, and two, the writing's not that great.
No, it's not. He goes on a lot about absolutely nothing.
I think my exact wording was, wow, you're a wordy motherfucker.
And most of those words are racism.
Yikes.
Okay, so the premise of the original story is there's this white detective who kind of hangs around Red Hook, which is, I guess, like a traditionally person of color oriented neighborhood because that's where they shoved all the people of color. And so he wanders around, and then there's this rich white guy who starts like getting in with the people of color and like causing all the like gangsters and whatnot to come out of the woodwork, and they're clearly performing some kind of like culty ceremony, but they can never find any evidence of it. And then the blue-eyed Norwegian people are being kidnapped. So then the detective somehow gets pulled into like this final ritual. The white rich guy pulls because he like kills himself and then somehow becomes part of this ceremony. It's never explained.
The detective is dragged into kind of this other world where there's like monstrous weirdness and it's too horrifying to look, you know, the usual Lovecraftian song and dance that I can't describe it to you because it's so crazy, and if I try to think about it to describe it to you, I will go insane.
Yeah.
So the detective sees that, has a huge breakdown. They fill the entire area in with concrete, and now at the beginning of the story the detective is off in some kind of quaint town where there are no super tall buildings because this experience has made him afraid of tall buildings.
Like, it's very vague in like the worst way because you're like, this rich white guy, what was his goal?
Yeah.
Like, what did he want? What did he do? What happened? What did his ceremony do? Because he completes the ceremony.
And so the thing is, like, this is our shit. Like, we love this kind of like dark, twisted fantasy dancing on the line of horror where there's like old gods and magic has consequences and, you know, be careful what you like, what you wish for, blah-de-blah, blah, blah. I respect it, but to see where it came from, like, deeply wounds me. Then you have the current trend of people kind of rediscovering cosmic horror as a genre and using it to critique Lovecraft, and I fucking love it because I'm getting all of the elements of that I like without, you know.
And then they're basically throwing it back in his face too at the same time because I'm sure all this stuff would make him very angry. Which
brings us to The Ballad of Black Tom, which is probably the first of this kind of revamped genre that we've come across. It is really fucking good.
It really is because, okay, so the summary of Black Tom. He is a guy in 1920s Harlem. He's trying to get by. He's in the middle of like the jazz wave. I don't want to call it a renaissance because it's like becoming a thing, and he's not the greatest guitarist ever. He's passable at best, and he uses his guitar skills to grift rich white people who think that they're being like up on the hippest, coolest new thing by like playing in white neighborhoods and getting them to pay money to play for them. And then one day he is approached by this rich white guy named Sujim who's like getting into all this like culty old world shit. And now that I think about it, I think he just wants Tom to be his like black friend so he can show other black people that he has a black friend and therefore they can trust him. Is that it? I don't know what he really wants him for, but that seems to be what I'm going to take away from that.
Okay.
So he like pays Tom an obscene amount of money, like $100 up front to play this party that he's going to have the next day. And then along come these detectives, and one's a PI, one's a detective. The PI is from Texas, and the detective is from New York. And they're like following Sudium to see if they can like discredit his sanity for all his relatives who are like afraid he's spending their fortune and rubbing elbows with undesirables. So they take the money that Tom gave and they screw off, basically. And they're like, we'll be following Sujim, so watch out. So then Tom shows up at at Sujim's house, and Sujim's like, oh, the party's like tomorrow? I just needed you to see some shit. And like pays him more money and then like takes him on a voyage
kind of out of time and out of reality.
Yeah.
You know, like the place you need to be for like your Cthulhu rituals to work.
Yeah.
And Tom is just like,
okay, I mean, you're gonna pay me my money, I guess, so sure, fine, whatever. Then, Tom had previously done a job for another, like, I want to call her like a witch or something.
She is a witch. So she wants this book, and Tom gets his hand on the book to give her the book, and he realizes what the book is, and he's like, yeah, no, if I bring this book to this, like, lady, like, there's a good chance she's gonna end the world. Like, he recognizes it for what it is. He rips out a page from the book, gives her the book, and she gets mad.
Because the book is basically useless without the final page. And so he gives it to his father, who can't read the page, because, like, if you read the page, he'll go mad. So he gives it to his father, who can't read, and that's how he, like, kind of subverts the whole, like, thing of you just
going crazy.
Which is an interesting thing because it's like illiteracy and I don't know, it's cool. Obviously the witch is a little pissed and she goes to the PI and is like, I need this page back, and the PI realizes that Black Tom ripped her off and goes to his house and he does the whole like, I thought my life was in danger so I shot this unarmed black guy because he was carrying a guitar.
And then I reloaded my gun
and shot him like 6 more times just to be sure. And you were like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck?
And then they sit there in the apartment and wait for Tom to come back while the body is just there. Like, it's just...
Like, it's like...
Oh!
It's like the biggest, like, how can we disrespect this man's life and keep doing it? Like, it's just, you're just like, what the fuck?
So Tom gets angry.
Tom, yeah, is justifiably furious.
Yeah.
Not knowing what else to do, he goes back to Sudium's, and he's kind of sitting there playing for him as Sudium brings in all his, like, black friends, I guess. And so he's playing, and then he realizes that, you know what? Fuck this shit. I can do this better than they can. So he walks right out the door into the outer realm. And then it cuts and it goes to the perspective of the white cop. And the white cop is watching shit go down in Red Hook and he's just like, I don't know what's happening. Like, Sujim just took over these like tenement buildings and he's got these people of color going in and out and in and out, in and out. And like, they're clearly not up to anything good. But, like, I can't figure out what's happening. And then he has this black manservant who is Tom. And they're calling him Black Tom now, and I don't know what to do about it. And so finally the police decide to, like, bust down the door when there's a rumor that blue-eyed Norwegians have been kidnapped. And, of course, the detective gets caught in this web that Tom has spun. Because Tom, who has been helping Sujim out as his, like, servant or assistant or like right-hand man or whatever, turns on Sujim and like completes the ritual that Sujim was trying to do, and then like takes revenge on the PI who killed his father, and then he like kind of like shows the like the detective like, you know what, you wanted horrors, here you go.
I forget what the line is where he's like, I'd rather be with Cthulhu than with you monsters. Like,
yeah. Basically, what they were doing was like asking Cthulhu for like a wish, and so I guess Tom kind of wished that like the whole old gods would rise and kind of overthrow humanity, and global warming is just making the temperature right for the old gods, which made me laugh. So yeah, I mean, I love the idea that like Tom was put in this kind of traditional role, and he wasn't even a character, which says a lot about Lovecraft. Like, Lovecraft in the original story was just like, oh, all these shady, dirty people of color are like just sitting around doing nothing, being like evil and shit.
We literally would not be able to show you the exact wording
like
of what he said.
It's
bad. It's bad. Like, we're both reading this and I'm just like, Chelsey's like, wait till you get to the description of the guy on the boat. And so I like send like 3 of the word description. You mean this part? The rest of it I refuse to type.
It's fucking bad. Yeah, so like he takes all these people of color and he just kind of like uses them as set dressing and like atmospheric voodoo. And then, you know, Victor LaValle comes in and he's like, okay, well, here's the perspective of a black character in this situation and what he's going through and how he might feel about what the hell is going down. And it's just interesting to see that reversal and just really like grounding it in something.
Cosmic horror has always been really interesting to me because it's very much like, you don't matter. Like, you are a speck of dust. You're too small. Like, you're too inconsequential. And I've always found that like very comforting because like it doesn't matter what you do. It's not important. Like, you just live your life. You read your books, you go to your like book club, you go to work, it's fine. And like I found that very freeing.
It's interesting too because in cosmic horror, you know, everybody is the same to Cthulhu. Like you said, they're all trash, right? Everyone, all humanity. So from the eyes of somebody who's marginalized from society, they're like, what's the difference?
Thank you. You said the thing I was trying to say. It's kind of nice because, okay, in a lot of like cosmic horror influence stuff, you have like the character, like a mage, let's say, who wants to become all powerful and starts playing around with dark forces beyond his control, and it's that kind of like need for power that's what's driving him, and you know, big mistake, everything goes wrong. It's kind of on the flip side to see someone be like, I understand the consequences of what I'm doing, but none of us are worth saving.
It's fun.
Mm-hmm. So this was the first book by Victor LaValle that I've ever read. I also read his most recent novel, The Changeling, which critiques folklore and kind of gets a little cosmic horror-y, a little bit, but not to the point of Ballad of Black Tom. I'd love to see him do more within kind of like the Lovecraftian cosmic bubble, because it's one of those things where you like, it comes from a place of love and hate. You know, like you clearly love the tropes and the world, but like you're aware that the world is not perfect. And awful.
Let's fix it. Honestly, it's a novella and it's short, easy to read.
And if you are a fan of Welcome to Night Vale, there is an audiobook version of The Ballad of Black Tom, which is how I read it originally. It is actually read by Kevin, who is like probably the sweetest man alive, but is like the scariest character on Night Vale.
So creepy. So creepy.
And he does an amazing job. So like I would highly recommend the audiobook.
Yeah. So that is our review of The Ballad of Black Tom, and we will see you later for some more weird fiction reading stuff. Bye guys.
Bye.